My dear friend, as you are well aware, I am an author. I have written so many books in English and only one book in Hindi, which is going to publish in recently. But due to the lack of knowledge of typing in Hindi, I am not able to publish this book well in time, though it is written or manuscript with me. So, as we are well aware that we are describing or we are disclosing the truth of the Islamic Gunism against the persecution of the Jews or the not the Jews but the Parsi or the Zoroastrian persecution. Although I have described in my video the persecution of the Jews, but today is the topic of 642 to 10th century persecution of the Parsis or the Zoroastrians. 642, the period of the Islam, as you are well aware, that an Islamic goon, which is known as Prophet in the Islam, launched a misguided missile or unhuman missile in the shape of the Islam. That was the Muhammad bin Abdullah, who was a fraudulent rapist, killer, and the robber. And he took ransom from the non-Muslims and took the 20% of that robbery as a share. That's the lion's share of the Muhammad. So Muhammad was a perfect robber. So in 7th century, Iran or Persia was captured by the Arabs. With death of the Yazidi guard, who treacherously was slain on 651 after defeated by the Sassanid. Sassanid was the Parsi or the Zoroastrians. Under the first four caliph, Persia or Iran was after four caliph, Zoroastrians were free from the persecution. But after this Zoroastrians were main persecution started in Middle East, they were treated as najas, polluted and impure, and there outside the city. These outskirts had no facilities as water availability, food, and a daily routine necessities. Even no medicine was present there because there were no doctor. There were no doctors. Persecution in Rashidun Caliph between 642 to 661 to May 661 to 750 and the Sassanid 890 to 899 was the bitter experience of the persecution. Rashid under the first four caliph, Persia was dominated by the Umar caliph. Umar, a wicked person. And Muhammad was afraid of Umar because Umar was a very wicked and very goon. In 633, under the military command of Saad ibn Abi Waqqas, during the period Umar Caliph, the third Caliph, as you may know this fact, that the first Caliph is Abu Bakr Siddiqui. The daughter of the Abu Bakr Siddiqui was Aisha, who was married to Muhammad in the age of 6 and consummated by Muhammad in 9 years. So this intercourse is a sexual rape by the Muhammad at the age of 54. During the period of Umar, Caliph wrote to Umar ibn al-Khattab asking what should be done with the books of the Zoroastrians. Umar Caliph replied, if the books resemble to the Islam literature, then no need for burnt down. Although fire temples and many other properties of the Zoroastrians either were mortgaged with Muslims or vandalized by the Muslim invaders. Even Umar declared, if the book against Islam, this will be blasphemy. Against Zoroastrians, nearly 400 captives, noblemen, Persian were sold in Arabia. Arabs called the Zoroastrians as Azam, means forgiveness. Whenever Arabs were the invaders and encroached on Parsi land, this is very common in Islam followers since inception of Islam, but first voice come from Piruz Nahavandi, an enslaved artisan who assassinated Umar. When the city of Estekar in the south, a Zoroastrian religious center, put up stiff resistance against invaders. 40,000 Zoroastrians were slaughtered by the Arabs in the Umayyad Caliphate, the second caliphate, between 661 to 750, who ruled accordingly the caliph in Syria. Persecution of the Zoroastrian was in superlative degree. During the 8th century, Umayyad caliphs conquered almost all the Zoroastrian kingdom, the last kingdom by 652. The jizya tax was imposed and the official language changed from Persian to Arabic. In 742, the Umayyad official decreed the non-Muslim be excluded from government of the position. Iranian Muslims started a new tradition with point out that an Iranian Salman-e-Farsi was the companion of Prophet Sahib and first converted to Islam. And this was the Salman Farsi who dug out the trenches for the safeguard for the Muslims in the war, in the trench war. They also pointed out the Hussein, the son of Caliph, had married with Sassanian princess named Satr Banu Sahar, the lady of land, whose son became the fourth Muslim Imam and started the Shia branch of the Islam. Shia Islam was the continued at the kingdom of Sassanian royalty. The two belief made easier conversion of Zoroastrian Islam. This fact also seen fabricated that if Zoroastrians too eager to convert in Islam, because then why the killing and the exodus of the Zoroastrians were happened? It was the only option of the Zoroastrian, either adopt Islam, give jizya tax if you are non-Muslim. So the conversion was mandatory as per Allah wise against Kafir. An example of religious suppression when a governor Arab appointed a commissioner to supervise the destruction of the shrine throughout Iran. One of the Umayyad Caliph was quoting, saying, milk the Persians and once their milk dries, suck their blood. Yazid ibn Mohlab, a general under Umayyad, was appointed the head of the great army to lead the Mazandaran expedition. On the way, General ordered captives to be hanged at two sides of the Tabristan, that is the Mazandaran field, but Arab controlled this land from Oregano. Extreme cruelty against Zoroastrian by the Islamic doctrine as per order of the Arab governor Yazid ibn Mohlab. So many Persians were beheaded in Oregano, a city Iran approximately 400 kilometers to the northern east of the Tehran. Old name was Astrabad. Order beheaded the so much blood of the Parsi killed that their blood mixed water would energize the milestone to produce as much as one day meal to him. As hatred vowed, the extent blood was too much, and spiritual itself represented the blood camel for 3 days, and he fed this bread which were prepared after running watermill by people's blood for 3 days, and bread was the red color due to the blood of innocent Zoroastrians. And women were molested, looted the wealth, and enslaved children. As the Muhammad committed this all the heinous crime and killing the all male upper the age of the puberty, as this act is recognized by Allah, Rasuls, and the Prophet Muhammad Sahib. The Bristol in was still the Zoroastrian majority until majority traveled migrated towards India. It shows that the Vedic culture is very pro-humanity and relevant and relaxation to human mind land since the million years, and the rest which were present in the Caliph kingdom slowly convert to Islam. Umar II was reported to say in one of his the letters, commanding not to destroy a synagogue or a church or a fire temple, but at the time not so much a worship place of the Zoroastrians, because all were destroyed on the earth in the beginning. It seems only fabricated story by Muslim historians and communist historians for their vested interest, for take money from Arab countries and communist countries also. According to Fred Donner, a citizen of USA, Zoroastrians in the northern part of the Iran were hardly penetrated by the Muslim. The region was not penetration of the Muslim due to the only strength, as in Myanmar did right against Rohingyas Muslims due to as they are cruel, were killing the Hindu both so manner, and the China only the countries they knew this their leadership read Quran and they know that Quran is a Gunism and death warrant of non-Muslims. The teaching of Islam always spread the Islam only preached, and devotion to the Muslims only and killing warrant to the Kafirs. Means it is a totally leaders dictatorship. Whenever Muslims are not in majority in countries or the courtiers, Being the binary vision of the Quranic, its basic motive to Islamization of the whole world. The teaching, if the Islam always spread the Islam, and Islam is the violence synonymous whenever Muslims are not in majority in very common. Their Muslim are creating Gunism and disturbance. Otherwise, persecution of Kafirs is very common. Quran is the only book. It is spreading hate, and this is not religious book, but a book of the teaching of the slaughtering of the Kafirs. Means every Muslim butcher as per Quran teaching. If he is true Muslim, if he does not killing the Kafirs, then he deviated from the Al-Tawbah, verse number 5. States kill the Kafir. The Abbasid Khalifa 752-804. After the Umayyad dynasty, Abbasid were also cruel towards Zoroastrians. Abbasid were king, and due to only Iranian Muslims, persecution of Zoroastrians was the extreme side. Sacred places of Zoroastrians' temple were ruined and destroyed. Rape of Zoroastrians women was very common by Muslims. They were dhimmi as usual, and the people were registered as dhimmi, as Jews, Sabian, and the Christians. And they were liable to pay the jizya for their protectors. They were kafirs, non-Muslims, rendering the restriction on Zoroastrians at the same rights in employment and status as Jews were also in the clan of Simmij or the Dhimmij. Zoroastrians were restricted to assist to bath on the ground that their bodies were polluted. Hardly any Zoroastrian family was able to deny to avoid conversion to Islam when employed in Abbasid kingdom, according Dawlat Shah Abdullah ibn Tahir, governor of the Khorasan, for the Abbasid Caliph banned publication in Persian, and by his order, all Parsi or the Zoroastrians were compelled to their religious book, thrown to fire. Rendering the script was Pahlavi script. Zoroastrians were in minority in the first time in Iran under the reign of the Al-Mustamin, who flashed on an imam and the muezzin for destroying the fire temples and replacing with the mosques. The Safid dynasty suffered. As per the nomenclature, the Zoroastrians were more sufferer than any dynasty before. In this dynasty, Zoroastrians were in minority and were protected by their religious priests since there was no king in Iraq. The Samnid dynasty, 819 to 999. Samnid dynasty was of the Zoroastrians, theoretical nobility who voluntarily convert into Islam in Sunni sect in this era. Some fire temples of the Parsi were in existence. These fire temples were in every province of the Parsis, including Khorasan, Kerman, and Sistan, and other areas under Samanid control. According to Al-Shah Rastani, there were fire temples situated in Baghdad also. Al-Saharistani was an influential Persian historian of the religion, a historiographer, Islamic so-called scholar, philosophers, and the theories maker, also known as Muhammad al-Sarastani al-Masudi in Arab from Baghdad, who wrote in 1956 after Hijri. Zoroastrians, for the time being, continued to exist many parts of the Iran, not only in countries which came relatively later under Muslim Swa, Sawa, Sawa, Tabristan, but also in those regions which early had become province. According to Al-Masudi, fire temples were to be found. The mud Jews, he states, venerate many fire temples in Iraq, Fars, Kirman, Sistan, Khorasan, Tabristan, Al-Dizwal, Azerbaijan, and Iran. He also added Sindh and Sin of the Indian subcontinent Al-Hind to the list. So this is the second part of the persecution of the Zoroastrians. So please purchase this book, The Venomous Fangs of Cobra, along with many other books as I have written. The first book is The Invader and Hidden Pact by Vijay Kumar Pal. The second book is Discriminating Hindus by Vijay Kumar Pal. Third book is Lost Paradise Kashmir by Vijay Kumar Pal. Fourth is Johor by Vijay Kumar Pal. Fifth is Black Dots of the Terrorism by Vijay Kumar Pal. Sixth, Lament of Sinjar by Vijay Kumar Pal. Seventh, The Paranoia of Cults by Vijay Kumar Pal. Eighth, the Panorama of Democracy in Indian Subcontinent. Ninth, Blender of Blasphemy by Vijay Kumar Pal. And the one book is I cannot remind because I have written so many books. So one another book is that is the venomous fangs of cobra, I think. So there are 12 books I have written, two books under the publication. That is the empty cauldron of Islam, and the second book is the Chalawa or the Pirpanch in Hindi. So thank you, my dear friend. Please subscribe my channel, put the bell icon, so I so you can get the notification as my video uploaded on the YouTube channel. Thank you very much. See you. Best wishes of the holy festival, my dear all the Hindus, Christians, Jews. But I will not pray for the Muslims if they are the true Muslims, because they are the terrorists. Thank you very much.